Hey everybody, Mark Herman, aka LA Bengals fan on most of the major platforms, and I'm joined here as always by my partner in crime, Sam Schneider, for another episode of Jungle Talk. Woo! And today we have a special guest from D&H Sports. Dadio is here with us. So, Sam, why don't you tell everybody where they can find your stuff? And then we'll let Dadio do his intro. Go for it.
Absolutely. I write for Primetime Sports Talk. You can find us at primetimesportstalk.com. You can find me on Twitter at Buy and Sell You or the website at Talk Primetime.
All right. And Dadio, where can they find your stuff?
Well, thank you. Thank you, Mark, for having me on your show. I love your show. I love your, I mean, you are the oldest Bengals fan, not in terms of age, but in terms of tradition, following the Bengals since their inception.
Thank you.
Amazing. Even though you're in Los Angeles, you are stuck with the team through thick and thin and a lot of
everything in between.
And thicker and thicker.
Thicker and thinner.
Exactly. So I always really respect you and your dedication. So we have a YouTube channel. That is where we started. D&H Sports. You can find us on there. We have the podcast on the Believe Podcast Network. It's the #1 Bengals podcast. It's actually not rated. It's not the top rated. It's just we named it.
It's just number one.
Yeah, we call it #1. You know, actually now they have the Believe Podcast Network has Believe in Bengals, hosted by Solomon Wilcots and Adam Pac-Man Jones. And so they just started. I don't know if you saw that.
No, I actually have to watch that.
Yeah, but I don't know. They just call it Believe in Bengals. We're believing. So, I mean, I don't know. You can technically, it's the Believe in, the #2 Bengals podcast is what they are. I mean, It's still respectable. It's still, it's respectable.
They're still top 5. They're still top 5.
Well,
I was just going to say, go ahead.
I was going to say, I've had the pleasure of doing the D&H show. Dadio and Haji are great to work with. As far as I'm concerned, you are the #1 Bengals podcast.
Yeah,
thank you.
Excellent.
Whether it's your title or not. And
that means a lot.
Always fun to have you on.
It means a lot. I mean, because we're actually technically the lowest rated Bengals podcast. So the fact that we have people like you who believe in us and aren't concerned with traditional statistics, it means a lot. But I write about all my podcasts on cincyjungle.com. Of course, you can read, if you don't like to listen to our voices, you can read about what we have to say. So thank you. Yeah.
No, it's great to have you on. I'm real happy to be sharing the screen with you again. Just a couple real quick notes on, and with respect to their website, I will put a link to their channel right in our description under this video. So definitely support all the fellow Bengal podcasters and YouTubers out there, and definitely subscribe to D&H. Couple bits of Bengal news. Patrick got signed off our practice squad. I get all these Twitter comments where people are all upset. We can't roster everyone. It doesn't work that way. I like the guy. I'm glad to see that he's going to be earning some money, but we can't roster every single running back, prospect that we have. So we wish him well.
At some point, you have to say, good for him. You
Yeah.
know what I mean? Your goal is not to be a practice squad player. Your goal is to play for an NFL team. So I'm sorry to see him go, but San Francisco could present a great opportunity.
Yeah. So, he can make some money now and be playing. So that's great. And then check my Twitter feed. I did a full tour of SoFi Stadium yesterday. It was a lot of fun. But as a Bengal fan, when I was in the Ram locker room, I had to stop by and see Andrew Whitworth's locker and pay homage to Whit. So if you want to see that, that's on my Twitter feed and on my Facebook page. So we'll go ahead and we're going to preview the upcoming Steeler week. So the upcoming Steeler game, we'll do what we usually do. We're going to talk about things that we feel good about and things that we don't feel good about. And, we always start with the negative to get that out of the way. So we'll talk about the things we don't feel good about. Top thing on my list is I don't feel good about our D-line, our O-line against their defense. That's something I don't feel good about. So how do you guys feel about that?
Yeah, I agree with that. There's, the Steelers have a couple injuries, which of course we'll touch on numerous times in this, but TJ Watt's the big one. I mean, he's got 3 sacks in 2 weeks. He, harassed us last year. He just got a giant contract and we all know why. I mean, he's outstanding. He's a little dinged up. Who knows if he's going to play, but he's a Watt. So I'd say the chances are he's going to get out there.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think just based on the previous two games, you have to be worried about the offensive line against the defensive line of the Steelers.
Yeah.
Well, about what? So we actually had Mark Bergen on our podcast a couple of days ago. He's the Believe in the Steelers guy, and that's hosted by him and Ike Taylor. So they do a great job. And he seemed to be saying, and by the way, JJ Watt, yeah, he tore his groin, and there are reports that he did so while celebrating a sack, which makes it even more embarrassing.
Yeah.
Right.
And it seems like this groin thing is being spread from player to player because they have 4 players in what they are calling the groin group. It is growing. The groin group in Pittsburgh is growing. We don't know if how they are contracting this groin virus or whatever it is. And I mentioned also that, Ben Roethlisberger is saying he has a torn pec or a pulled pec or something. And the pec, as you both know, because I'm sure you are familiar with anatomy, is the groin of the chest. So, I mean, you look and you have 5 people with these groin issues, and it could say something about the locker room dynamic in Pittsburgh. We don't know. But
Dadio, would you say that the groin problem is growing?
It is growing. But here's what I wanted to say is that Mark hinted, and he knows stuff, that he was kind of upset that he gave TJ Watt $80 million guaranteed, because he's like, the whole thing was he was never hurt. He was an Iron Man, and now we don't know when he'll be back. Guys, he's not going to play in this game, and he might not be back for a while. I don't want to be happy about anybody's pain, obviously.
Sure.
But do the Steelers count as human beings? I mean, that is the question. Right. Do we have to show them the same compassion we show the rest of mankind? I don't know. I'll throw that to you guys.
It's debatable.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, what compassion do we get from them? I mean,
exactly.
As far as a fan base, none of them troll like the Steelers. Right. We won't get any fan bases of other teams coming and trolling on comments. But when we play the Steelers, they come out and they do their Steeler stuff.
They better not do the groin dance on us, because Von Bell is not going to have it. If they are flaunting their groins after a sack, no, I'm serious. Von Bell is going to put them in their place. He doesn't play like that.
Well, let's just not negate a really good series like we did against Chicago with the taunting penalty, because they are enforcing those.
Yeah, but with the offensive line guys, I mean, they've been bad. But Xavier Su'a-Filo has been the weakest link, and you mentioned how he might not play. Look. Guess what? Guess who's the next man up? Jackson Carman.
Right.
Yeah. And this guy is he's raw, whatever. But you never know with rookies. These young kids, they pick up stuff so fast. I've had people in the comment section of our videos say their 3-year-olds know more about football than us. And I mean, that's obviously it's a compliment. They're trying to say, I don't think they're trying to be insulting. I think they're just showing that these toddlers now know a lot about football. So, the learning curve is so much higher for these rookies these days.
Right.
It's true. And I'm glad you mentioned Jackson Carman, because, there's been more and more talk about him. When he reported to camp, he was pretty severely overweight, which of course is very disappointing for a rookie. You know what I mean? Because you want the rookie to come in and have something to prove.
A rookie in Cincinnati, though. I mean, you just moved back to Cincinnati? Look at the food. I mean, have you seen some of these billboards and some of the food items they have? They have like I saw, what is it, like a chili icy or something? I mean, they have like everything. They have combinations of so many delicious things. I don't know how anybody can stay under the BMI, under like 40.
Well, that's true, except that Jackson Carman grew up here. So, I mean, I don't really know. Yeah. I don't really know. I mean, he avoided it for this long. Maybe when he went away to college, he lost some weight. But, but regardless, I said, he reported that way. But in the last 2 weeks, everybody's been talking about how much better he's applied himself in practice and everything. So I agree with you. I would love to see him plug it into that spot, and let's see what we got. That's what everybody's begging for, is to see why, you passed on Sewell, you took Chase, and I think right now that's an even trade. So let's see what we got in the second round, right?
Yeah, I mean, yeah. The thing is, when we passed on Sewell, when we went with Chase, the idea was, look, we get the ball out quickly, we take some deep shots, we're going to open up the passing game. And John Sheeran, brilliant analyst on our show, talked about how that is a way I would counter. Sheeran. Yeah, he's like, that is how I would counter a less than a stellar line, because it's not easy to get 5, great offensive linemen in one offseason. So another option is you spread them out. Out. Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase expressed frustration in that regard of not opening it up, not taking those chances. And are they trying to protect Burrow? Is Burrow comfortable doing the same things that he used to? Is he can he run the way he used to?
No.
No. And honestly, even his passing is not as aggressive as it was.
No.
Right.
But I think after this week and the kind of the back and forth, and look, let's be honest. Zac Taylor's on the hot seat.
Okay? Oh yeah.
And I'm not saying that that's not the metaphor for flatulence or anything. I'm saying he is, I'm saying he is, well, obviously a lot of people, when they're nervous, they have a lot of flatulence. That could apply too. But what I'm saying about Zac Taylor is that his job is on the line.
Oh yeah. No.
And he was brought in to be that risky kind of forward-thinking play calling guy. And what happened is you had Brian Callahan call out Joe Burrow in a way, saying, yeah, it was, we want to take the shots, but those interceptions didn't help. Like, wait a second, hold on. Yeah, those interceptions didn't happen because Joe Burrow is trying to stay within the game plan and get us back in the game, Right. So I mean, you have this back and forth, and I think what that leads to is they are going to adjust the game plan. That's what I'm trying to say. I think they don't. Yeah.
And I think if I could, Mark, I'll go ahead and say one of the things I'm not feeling good about.
Please.
Which is, I'll still, I'm a big fan of leaving last week in the past and moving on to this week. But I think anybody that's a Bengals fan is still, a little leery of what the game plan is going to be. They've already said we're going to have a great game plan for the Steelers offensive line. I'm like, all right, would show me. Don't tell me that. And part of that is I think I made a little bit of an excuse for Zac last week, even though I was bashing some of the play calling. I made a little bit of an excuse when I said that Taylor said that we were taking what they were giving us. And what he meant was they were trying to cut down on the downfield stuff. So they left it open underneath. But what happened? Joe Mixon didn't run for many yards. Tyler Boyd saw a good amount of targets, but nothing with huge separation or anything. So were you really taking what it was, or did you just glue yourself to that game plan and stick with it?
Well, one thing that Joe Goodberry talks about is use the play action more. Like, it's proven to work. Like, get creative. You don't have to, it's not everything's about the deep shot, but do something, don't stick to the same thing. I mean, do some flea flickers. I don't know, do something to mix it up, throw them off. Mark?
I will say this, and I can't quote it much more. And I'm sorry, Mark, I'm taking away from you. I don't know the stats exactly, but it's something to the effect of Joe Burrow on play action. His completion percentage is around the 50s. He's thrown a ton of interceptions, whereas when he's just throwing dropbacks, his completion percentage, his rating, his touchdowns, everything is way up. So, I don't really know, what's the answer. And I love Goodberry too. But I don't know that that's necessarily the answer either. You can't run play action on the first play.
I'm just saying I don't know anything about offensive play. I'm saying get creative. And the other thing is a lot of people said is the empty sets. And the problem with the empty sets is, we need a pass blocking running back. We don't have Giovanni. And so you talked about Jacques Patrick. Yeah. And he might be a great runner. But unless he's a step up, maybe Chris Evans is the guy. I don't know. We need one of these running backs because Joe Mixon. Don't know. Yeah, we know Joe Mixon can run. We need one of these other guys to be our pass blocking, our third down back. Otherwise, we're not going to survive with this offensive line. We need to get maybe a tight end. We need help. We need someone to chip those kind of, surprise rushers. Right. Otherwise, I mean, this offensive line can be competent. Maybe if we fix that, the guard situation with Jackson. But
well, that's a lot to digest. So, Mark, what do you think about that?
Well, you know what? I had our play calling down as an issue. We've talked ad nauseum about the loss of Gio and how we're feeling feeling that now. And we've speculated that we don't think Evans is a better pass blocker. That's why he hasn't been getting playing time. But we do need to come up with some kind of scheme that gets some chipping going on, that does something to slow down this pass rush and brings in that extra blocker. So 100% agree with Zach's play calling last week. I pointed out that if any one of the things that happened, namely the Von Bell penalty, if T. Higgins doesn't fumble the ball, Logan Wilson falls on the ball, if any one of those things happened, we win last week. And we're not even focusing so much on the play calling because, like I said, the opportunities were there. I felt we didn't execute, but we need to be stretching the field more. There's no question. And Joe needs to get the ball out of his hands faster because there were several times last week where he just was holding the ball too long. He doesn't have 3-4 seconds to get rid of the ball. You don't have that much time.
I complained about that a lot in our recap and knew that there would be blowback in the comments for our video. I wasn't quite prepared for the amount of blowback that I got.
Well, I mean, I am going to defend Joe Burrow here. And I think bad play calling, you're going to end up with some coverage sacks. You're going to end up, you might have 3 seconds. Well, what are you doing with those 3 seconds? You want him to throw the ball away he's a young quarterback. Right. He threw 60 touchdowns his last year in college. He's used to making plays, okay? And let him make those plays. You're not going to get a young quarterback to throw the ball away. He's basically still in his rookie year. He's like game 10, game 11, whatever. Right.
Yeah.
So, you're not going to get him throwing the ball away, as much as you would like. And in this kind of game, this kind of, ugly game where our defense was dominating, we got to do something. We got to show something on offense. Like that, this was a really bad showing for the play calling.
Yeah. Oh, yeah, I agree. No. This was a very winnable game. And we've talked about how much it hurt, not grabbing a win here because it was right there for the taking. But well, like I said, that's in the rearview mirror. We don't want to trip over things we've already gone past. Let's shift over to the good and things we're feeling good about. And let's go right into what we were talking about, our defense. I'm feeling good about our defense. I talked in the video last week. We had 4 straight turnovers and we only surrendered 13 points. And I said, our defense held them to a touchdown and 2 field goals. That actually doesn't even give you an accurate story because the touchdown was scored by Roquan Smith and our defense wasn't out there to stop it. So really, the defense held them to 2 field goals.
That's crazy.
On the 3 turnovers. So they've done a great job. If they can do the same thing to the Pittsburgh rookie running back that we've done to Montgomery and to Cook, I really feel good about, and we can get the same kind of pressure because the Pittsburgh offensive line is a work in progress. We talk about our problems. Yeah. They're averaging 50 yards a game. I think it was 57 yards a game at rushing right now.
Well, and I saw the highlights in Ben Roethlisberger. And, he was still throwing it up there. He was trying to play his style, but he doesn't have the mobility to compensate for all those holes on the offensive line.
None at all. Yeah.
And you talk about the defense, Mark, and this is a team that is playing like it's like we don't have stars anymore. But Trey Hendrickson does his role. We have linebackers who can actually make plays and get to people in a space. We have a pretty good secondary. We have 1 hole in the secondary, and Trey Waynes might be back. That will make up for that hole. So we have a complete defense. It's not full of stars, but they're playing like a unit, which is amazing. We haven't had that since 2015. So
you can go back. Listen, Miami in their undefeated season, what was the nickname of their defense? It was the no-name defense because they were a collection as a unit. They were great, but you didn't know anybody on the defense.
Yeah.
So like I said,
I agree with you as far as, I feel good about our defensive front, stopping them. Najee Harris has been not quite as advertised. He had 45 yards on 16 carries in his first game. That's good for 2.8 yards per carry. Second game, 10 for 38. That's 3.8. So through 2 games, he's got 36, 70, like 84 yards.
Yeah, rushing. No, it's not
and he was supposed to be, this was it. You know what I mean? Because everybody knew that Ben Roethlisberger was getting a little older and couldn't just constantly carry the team. He's still hitting Juju. He's still hitting Deontay. They got like 26 catches through 2 games for a couple hundred yards. So I'm sorry, I'm not trying to go back to the bad or anything.
Sure.
But I think our defense contends with them. Still going to be, and I hate to sound like a broken record, still going to be a little down on Eli Apple. And most of the people that like quoting PFF grades are conveniently skipping over the fact that Eli Apple's is 43.8. And unlike you guys, I don't believe Trey Waynes is going to play this week. So you got Deontay and you got Juju out there. Awuzie, I feel pretty good about covering one of them. Do I feel good about Eli Apple? Not necessarily. But here's the thing. Put pressure on the quarterback, stop the run, then everything else I think falls into place. I don't think that they're going to run the ball 10 times and still win this game on the strength of 50 attempts by Roethlisberger. I don't think it's going to happen, Eli Apple or no. So I'm with you. The defense looks good. I'm with you, Dadio. The linebackers, Logan looks outstanding. He's ranked way up there in linebackers. Pratt looks like the real deal. Gaither in limited snaps has looked really, really good, which is hard to do when you're just coming off the bench. Kind of coming in cold for, one play out of every four. So I feel good about all that. Ogunjobi might miss this week. And I think that'll hurt a little bit. But overall, I'm with you guys. That was the first thing on my list. I feel good about the defense, and then had 3 different reasons why I felt good about it.
Right. Now, the other thing I have that I feel good about, and I'm not hating on, their injuries and all that, but it is what it is we touched on this in the beginning, is they've got several key members that either didn't practice or limited practice. Ben will play. He always does this and says he's not, he's hurt, but it's going to hurt him to throw. I heard Dr. Chow on, I think, the Blitz or Moving the Chains earlier today, and he basically said he can play, but he's going to be playing with pain.
If that pectoral was torn, I think he'd already be on the IR at this point, especially as a quarterback. But most people, you tear a pec. Actually, Bengals fans know that probably better than anybody over the last 2 years.
Atkins,
yeah. So and Wayne's last year, the reason
but Ben Roethlisberger doesn't really, he doesn't do much athletically, with his chest.
Well, no,
but you feel it when you're throwing.
I almost took. Close to taking you seriously.
Well, he's kind of It's like like my co-host says, if you want to describe Ben Roethlisberger, it's like 3 cows stacked on top of each other, right? He's a mountain of a man. It doesn't matter, it's not about the agility with him. So, really, and that his arm, I hate to say it, his arm still has, his passes still have zip on them.
It's got juice.
I hate to say, yeah.
And he's not going to stop until it doesn't anymore. And I'm with you, Mark. You got to feel good about that. On one hand, I want to, I want to say, oh, this guy might be out, that guy might be out. That's going to help us. At the same time, and this leads into my, one of the things that I was kind of down on. You gotta beat the best to be the best. Yeah. And I don't like the Steelers having excuses for why we beat them. I don't like guys being injured. And TJ Watt was out, Roethlisberger was out, Deontay Johnson was out. These guys were all out. You're talking about a team we're 1-12 against in our last 13. We're 3 of our last 23. We haven't won 2 straight since 2009. And before that, it was 98. I would rather just go in. I would rather have them, all those guys play and beat them. Yeah. But I would like to have them play dinged up, though. I would like them to be dinged up.
And that I think you're going to get. Now, Deontay Johnson did not practice the last 2 days.
Right.
We don't know if we're going to see him. And then the other one, we talked about Watt being dinged up, and we also talked about Roethlisberger. So,
Dadio already broke the news that Watt's not playing.
Oh, so what? Okay, so
that is what I got from a Steelers.
Yeah, no, you broke the news. We're gonna put this.
He's not
everywhere.
playing. He's not playing. He's not playing. So he needs to stop dancing. I don't know what is the Steelers in dancing. It's football. There's no dancing.
That's how you hurt a groin.
That's right. So when I hear about us not having 2 consecutive wins against the Steelers since '09, yet we managed to beat them in Cincinnati last year with Ryan Finley at
that counts as at least 4 wins. Beating them with Ryan Finley on Monday night was the equivalent of 4 wins.
Yeah, I know, but the only reason I mentioned it was because this would make it back to back. And
right, that's what I'm saying. And my response to that is we're due. This is if you can win with Ryan Finley, why can't we win this week with Joe Burrow and a dinged up Steeler team? And our defense playing the way they are.
So I'm not saying we're not. Let me make that perfectly clear, because already everybody in the comments can't stand me. But
no, that's not.
I'm certainly not saying that. I agree with you 100%. Because the last win was Ryan Finley, but was it because we caught him off guard and they didn't know what the plan was?
Let's be honest. We have a good defense, good enough. Yes. We have the better quarterback. We have great skilled players, right? Our offensive line coming around. This is Zac Taylor's game. This is his game to show himself. The Ryan Finley game was a freak game. I don't know what happened that game. Ryan Finley ran and ran. It was just so weird.
No, it was the best.
Too much credit.
With a smile, and he had the smile on the bottom of the pile.
That was the best game plan Zac Taylor has ever had.
That's true.
Was that
100%.
game? He looked like Shanahan the way he schemed in and did his game plan. He needs to do that now. You want to put all the people to shut him up on the play calling and all that. Go out there, win this week.
Dadio, if you didn't know it, Mark Herman loves Kyle Shanahan.
Oh, he's good.
It's like his favorite coach ever.
I love him and Mike Shanahan. Years ago, I was pointing out that Mike Shanahan, with the zone blocking scheme, was the offensive line coach. I forgot his name, passed away recently, who designed that. But Shanahan kind of really implemented it, and they just plugged anybody in there, and we're getting like 1,500 yards from random running backs. It was amazing. So I always respect the Shanahans. But I would say this: look, you're right. That was his best game plan, and I think I wrote an article before that game on Cincy Jungle saying, if Zac Taylor beats Pittsburgh, he could keep his job. And at the time, that was radical. Wait, Zac Taylor's got to be gone. He's only won 3 games or whatever, 2 years. And then after that, the whole discourse about him changed. And so I think having his back to the wall, having no quarterback, having nothing going on for them, he had to play like a, wounded animal, in the corner. And I think this might be the same thing, because this is the first time we've heard the players, like John Sheeran pointed out on Twitter, that the only thing Zac has going for him is a player's coach. And now if the players turn on him, he's gone. So he needs to show, hey, I can be that aggressive play caller. This is his game. We're going to see if Zac Taylor keeps his job on Sunday.
Yes, I agree.
I agree with that.
And if it's okay, guys, gentlemen, I will step out and let you finish the show.
Before you go, we need a game prediction.
So game prediction. Yeah. I'm going to go 24-21 Bengals.
Okay.
Nice.
I think they pull it off. Because we have the talent. We're the upward trending team. They're the downward trending team. I think we pull it off. No. And I think Joe Burrow, throws for close to 300 yards. I think he gets T. Higgins involved deep. That's something he wants to do. And I think the defense. I think Roethlisberger will attack Eli Apple and Jesse Bates. Some of the other playmakers are going to make him pay. I think they're going to think he's an easy target, and they are going to know that, and they're going to be on top of that.
I like that.
There you have it. If you hang out, we're going to wrap up within the next few minutes. So I'm going to do my game predictions, and then we're done, and we can get another plug in. So I'm going to jump in with mine. I'm actually really close. I think this is going to be an ugly, hard-fought defensive game, because the defensive units on these teams are clearly the strength, and the offensive lines are the Achilles heel for both teams. I like the Bengals 2016 in an ugly one. That's what I've got.
Okay, I'm going to go flat out and give everybody another reason to hate me. But I'm also going to do it with a caveat. I think until you show you can consistently beat the best, I can't pick against the better team historically in our rivalry. I'm taking the Steelers 24-17. However, if Roethlisberger is out, I'm flipping that 24-17 Bengals.
All right. Well, I think Roethlisberger plays, although, like I said, I think he's injured. So, but hey, hopefully we are celebrating and blowing the horn on Sunday before it's a Bengal win. Dadio, why don't you remind everybody where they can find your stuff?
Yeah. So yeah, please go to youtube.com/dhsports or find us on anywhere you find your podcast, Snitcher, Scratchify, all those different forums. You can find the #1 Bengals podcast. We're on the Believe Podcast Network. And Mark, real quick, I want to just add that, look, the Thursday night game is coming up. The Ring of Honor game. Joe Goodberry convinced me to buy a ticket, but I then learned that there's all these other expenses involved. You have to pay for parking and you have to hire a babysitter. It's just not worth it for me. So I want to give away my ticket to the Thursday night game. But there, as Sam says, there's a caveat, which is that we are trying to raise money for our show to get better equipment. And we were able to get one microphone, a top quality microphone. And I want to get them for John, Sheeran, and Hoji, my other co-hosts. And they're pretty expensive. So we want 9 patrons to patronize us or treat us patronizingly. I don't know how you phrase it. On patreon.com.
I don't think that way. I don't think that's the way.
On patreon.com/DHSports, 9 for the Joe Burrow tier. It's $9. That's all. If you become one of 9 people or more, that's fine. I will pick one at random and give the ticket away.
So let me get this straight. $9 and you got a shot at getting the ticket to the Thursday night game.
That's right. But we have to get 9 patrons first because we just get one. It's a bad investment. And this country, by the way, Sam, is built on good deals. I don't know if you know. It's almost like an art form.
I'm well aware.
Okay. So you want to get good deals. And the Bengals organization as well is all about good deals. Like someone asked me, he was on the show, Arif Hassan, I don't know if the Vikings reporter. He said, was Zac Taylor on the top of the Bengals list when they chose him? And I said, well, when you shop online, you can arrange the items either by the highest rated, the most expensive, or the least expensive. And if you do the last one, yes, Zac Taylor was on the top of our list. and that is my philosophy as well. Me and Mike Brown, look, the whole Ring of Honor, I coordinated that with him. I told him I can get him the party supplies and everything for under $50. And that's when he announced the Ring of Honor. So I get the philosophy and I embody that myself. So yes, please, 9 patrons for $9 and I would give it away, the ticket.
There you have.
It's one more time. It's Patreon/DH Sports. Is that right?
Yeah, patreon.com/DH Sports. That's right.
There you go.
Patreon.com/DH Sports.
All right. So go ahead and enter to win a chance to win a ticket to the Thursday night game. And Sam and I will be back on Tuesday with the preview for, like we said, we do have a Thursday night game and hopefully we win this weekend.
Wait, Mark, are we going to do a recap for the Sunday game first?
Yes, we're going to do a recap. We will be here right after the Sunday game doing a recap. Hopefully we're blowing the horn and then we'll be back on Tuesday with a preview.
Love it.
So with that, I'm going to say, hoo-day, everybody.
Hoo-day.
All right.
Guys.
Take care.
Thank you.
Be good, everybody.